Hi there, welcome to Gary Moves. Welcome back, and this is mostly a figure skating channel. I have 55 or more years of experience as a figure skater. And so it would stand to reason that maybe I should do a video about figures, from which the name of our sport was coined, figure skating. Yeah, we used to do figures on the ice, and it used to be quite important, the tracing, the mark that we made on the ice. That was the main thing that was judged in figure skating. It was a very exacting exercise because we did 3 repetitions and they were supposed to be traced, one on top of the other. In figures, we had a special sharpening on our blades, which was quite a lot shallower than for free skating. We didn't typically go on very deep edges in figures, and a shallower sharpening allowed for better flow and allowed for more stability. The edges wouldn't catch in the ice quite so easily, so it was quite a lot easier to control with that shallower grind, which was, I don't know, maybe 2.5 inches or 2.25 or 2.5 inches radius. Whereas for free skating, we use nowadays somewhere between 1/2 inch and 1 inch. I use 1 inch. But I don't have that. These are not figure skates that I'm wearing right now. These are my free skates. They do have quite a shallow sharpening on them. And they also have toe picks, of course, and figure blades didn't have toe picks. We used to either grind the toe picks off, or we would buy Pattern 88 or some other brand of figure blades that didn't have toe picks on them. Because we really don't need the toe picks to skate figures. And they would just sometimes, as we're doing a 3-turn, the toe pick, if we're pointing our toe, the toe pick would scratch on the ice, and we don't want to scratch on the ice. So yeah, the Zamboni is still flooding the speed skating oval here, but it's finished with this section here. So I thought, yeah, maybe I should show a figure now that we have nice clean ice. And the preliminary figure test, if I recall correctly, consisted of outside 8 and inside 8, and we did outside 8 first, and then we did inside 8. We generally always do outside first and then inside, which is kind of strange because inside edges tend to be easier to learn than outside edges. You know, for beginners, outside edges are more difficult. But okay, so yeah, we would come into our center. I have lines on this ice to give me an idea of the geometry, because which can be helpful actually, because the figure has to be symmetrical, and both circles have to be the same size that I'm doing now, and they have to be lined up, so the sides are lined up and the center is lined up. The top of the circle is, you know, symmetrical here. So the size of the circle for figures is 3 times the height of the skater. So just to give you an idea. And we used to show our long axis to the judges. This is going to be my long axis. I'm showing it. And starting a figure. This is a simple figure I'm doing now. I'm going to start with a nice athletic bend here. This is something you learn from figures, is to have good posture, because I want to generate speed. So I'm going to straighten and push and try to start right on a circle. I want this to be a nice circle all the way around. So here we go, and bah! Now I have to look for that center, and bah! Not so easy to see out here, that center. Ah, there it is. And tracing. We used to practice these figures sometimes 2 or 3 more hours a day. Just kind of getting warmed up here. So quite a lot of glare outside. I'm not tracing this very well, actually. If I was practicing more, I would be able to do a much better figure demonstration. Generally in figures, actually, we didn't use more speed than necessary, because it's more difficult to do turns with a lot of speed. So we would do actually as little speed as necessary. It's also easier to trace at lower speed. So I'm going kind of faster than I need to here. We want to try to keep these figures as steady as possible. So we want to try not to have a lot of wobbles, right? This is part of the art of doing figures, is to try to do them without wobbles. Well, I have more than 3 tracings there, and you can see that it's pretty well lined up, even though I couldn't see what I was doing when I started this. I ended up getting a pretty good tracing, pretty well lined up on both sides. I mean, it's an easy figure. Yeah, and I think that's about the right size. It's a messy center. Figures, we had to be really, really tidy to get top marks in figures, and this is a really messy, it's a long center. My edges come and they cross, but way back here, and then I don't push until up here. The pushes are not traced. Kind of substandard, it's not perfect, but yeah, if I do it again, I would try to get I kind of overshot the center a little bit. This should have been coming in more this way. We used to use a scribe, a huge compass, to draw the figure on the ice. And I know that Scott Irvine makes scribes. Somebody else probably makes scribes out there. They're kind of like, well, a lot of people still like to do figures. Yeah, Irvine Designs, right? Scott in Sun Valley, Idaho, he makes scribes, so anybody that wants to get a scribe can nowadays. Yeah, we used to set it up and then scratch out a circle on the ice, and then we'd go to the other side and scratch out a circle, and then so now we would have a circle with that met in the center, and so then we would try to follow that circle just for practice. In competition, of course, we don't get the benefit of having we can't scribe our circle. We have to just start and trace out a proper circle. Yeah, it's kind of fun to do figures. It's a challenge. You kind of have a tangible goal in mind. You can see after you do a figure how well you traced it, and while you're skating it, stay right on that tracing. You can see the tracing on the ice, and the challenge of seeing how exactly you can trace this. I've got here at the start of my figure, you know, like 3 inches or so, 6 centimeters or something like that, 6 or 7 centimeters wide. Not perfectly traced. Sometimes we used to be, well, at the World Championships level, we used to trace these things very, very closely, you know, within a half an inch, all the way around. And even the turns used to be traced. So, yeah. Now doing the inside. Oh, I kind of like, oh, that wasn't a very good push. Yeah. Controlling rotation is something you learn from skating these figures. Push and then nice and steady, so not rotating out of control, right? Choosing the right lean for the speed and for the size of the curve. And of course, if you get into some kind of method, it helps with consistency. So pushing, maybe I'm going to have this arm in front here, right? To start, push there, bring my foot through. Maybe I'm going to bring my arms through so that I'm ready for the next push. Maybe I'm going to move my arms and my free leg at the same time. Ready for the next push. Free leg and arms coming through. Yes, I show you some figures in figure skating. And yeah, if you have a nice clear sheet of ice, you can come out here and trace out a pattern as a way of warming up. We learned a lot from doing figures. I don't know if it's the very best way of training nowadays, now that we don't compete in figures. The one advantage of doing figures is that because we're trying to trace, we're always looking down. So in free skating now, you know, we want to have good posture. We want to focus on our audience and judges, and we don't want to look down so much. So getting used to being in this position while we're skating, looking down, is one of the disadvantages of figures. But there's many advantages. I noticed that when I competed in the figure competition that World Figure Sport staged in Toronto several years ago now, that when I was practicing figures every day, my free skating also improved. My jumps, my spins, everything improved. So this skill is quite important. The skills that we learn from skating figures are quite useful as in free skating. This is, you learn so many skating skills from doing figures. So yeah, I had some requests to show figures in my channel from a few different people, and so now I got around to doing some very basic, simple figures for you. And that's all for today. Bye-bye.